Esther, good morning, y'all. Lars, good morning. Nikki, hey, DJ. Nikki says, good morning, Nikki. Peter Griffin, good morning. Infinite Content. Jose Shay T. Becky P. A.R. Walker. Laura Estrada, good morning. Susan Bradley, good morning. Sister Savage, sweetheart. What's going on, sister? Good morning, good morning. Julie Van Alsta, excuse me if I messed up your name. Good morning to you. Patricia, good morning, man. Peter Low Frequency, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Jam Tomb, shout out to you on Twitch. Shout out to everybody that's tuning in this morning, y'all. Welcome. Come on, man, y'all. Come on in, get your tea, your coffee, your drink, whatever it is you need. Good morning. Sophia, hey, Miss Sophia.
I never really
Brother Tyler, good morning. Mark S, good morning. On it goes. Shade Dragon, good morning. I see y'all. Shoot the Dragon. Man, y'all is in here today, boy. Love y'all so much.
Try to figure where my mind's at. A spot where I don't spend no money, just some time at. I mix and mingle with the people till I learn a little. I brought some weed and baby, maybe we could burn a little. She said you're funny. I said no,
say less, sir. Say less.
Sun shining, birds chirping. Let me take a breath. I'm headed to
Brother Tiger, good morning. Good morning.
What people like to give a little, then you take the rest. I'm hoping one day maybe I can find a place to rest. I fell in love with life and wonder where it take me next. I like the hustle and bustle. I fell in love with the fashion.
Susan, good morning to you.
The city is moving.
Sunny White, good morning.
Sorry, it's a start up. She just wanna cut up in the car. Told her start it up.
Tasha, good morning to you. Carly Wynn, good morning.
To my old chick, she said you ain't playing fair. No, I ain't playing fair. No, I ain't playing fair. Ask her why she
Aurora, good morning. Good morning.
No, I had to ask some more, but I really had to go and get my bop on. Yeah, I get my bop on. If she needs some good, tell her she got hop on.
Good morning, y'all. It's time to wake up, y'all. It's Like It or Not. It's coming up next on the Benjamin Dixon channel, y'all. Make sure that you stay tuned.
Yeah, I get my bop on. If she needs some good, tell her she got hop on. She know I'm the top dog. I know she a hot one, but Lindsay's on the feet, and you know I got the socks on. She said with my hot sauce, she ain't with no knockoff. She know we gon' pop off. Uber getting dropped off, kicking in the door. We ain't knock on it. Ice on your beat, and you know it.
Shout out my brother Six Dragon Daddy. Good morning. Good morning.
With no beat, tell him stop.
Brother Latif. Good morning. Shout out to the brother, man.
Put on R&B, then I hit her with the slow stroking. Then I told her she could hop on that.
Desiree, I'll be in Pittsburgh next week. I got a DJ at wedding.
Good. Tell her she could hop on. She know I'm the top dog. I know she a hot one, but Lindsay's on the feet. And you know I got the socks on. Yeah, I get my bop on. If she needs some good, tell her she could hop on. She know I'm the top dog. I know she a hot one, but Lindsay's on the feet. And you know I got the socks on, yeah. Double B's on me, yeah. Double C's on the dono. Double D's dunking, no. Going nuts for the flow. Tango E, F it, bro. I'm a G, let him know. Who is he? ISO. Who is he? ISO. Pop on, yeah, I get my bop on. If she wanna give me
Anna Hart, good morning.
But she got the top off while I got
Infinite Content, thank you for your super chat. Infinite Content says, we got to get everyone to get vaccinated. This keeps the Rona from mutating into more dangerous forms, people. Infinite Content, amen. I don't understand why people don't get that and understand. I know there's still some fear, but man, this Delta variant, I'm real scary on it, man. I'm still wearing masks and I'm not going nowhere.
You know I got the socks on, yeah.
Ear Hustler, good morning. Straight from the dead. Come on, brother. Good morning, Ear Hustler.
I haven't seen you in a long time. Almost been a year since you broke my heart and tore me apart. Oh, yeah. I've been working on myself, trying to move on. Hooking up with someone else, trying to forget. Get you out of my head. Oh, I deleted all your messages.
Desiree, I appreciate that. Brother Diallo, good morning, y'all.
Still trying texting me when you're lonely. I don't know why you keep calling. But I was here, I'm not your friend.
Shay T, good morning. Jago, good morning.
But you don't even know me, so I don't know why you keep calling me. What makes you think I would go back Why would I wanna try again?
Mary Ellen, good morning, good morning. Man, everybody in the chat room, wherever you are, whatever chat that you are in, drop the city that you're from right now, y'all. Drop y'all city, rep your city. Rep your city one time, y'all, in the chat room. Y'all introduce yourself, get to know somebody, y'all, like it or
I
not.
deleted all your messages, cause it only reminds me of the past. But you're still drunk texting me when you're lonely. I don't know why you keep calling me on my phone. Thought I was clear, I'm not your friend, I'm not the homie. Think I'm
All right, I see Texas, I see Tennessee, Louisiana, Tennessee, I already said, South Kakalaki, South Dakota, New Jersey, Boston in the house, NYC, Delaware, Australia. Good day, mate. That's the Truth the Dragon. I love you. We got Denver in the house, California. What up, Cali? Chi-Town. Oh, Santa Barbara in the building. One of my favorite spots, man. Y'all welcome, welcome, welcome. Y'all come on in. Shout out to all my Florida people in the building, too.
Yeah. Look, I'm in line with the stars. I'm in sync with the earth. 10 deep.
Shout out for Minnesota, man. Love y'all, Minnesota, man.
Even when I die, I'm arrived.
Arizona, make sure that y'all stay cool, please.
Vibe kind of hard to describe. I'm in between. I'm good in the spine, but I'm tired of the grind.
Laura Estrada, I'm sending you healing and healing through the screen right now. Here's my crystal. Sending this healing to you, sister. Laura Estrada, get well soon. Positive vibes for you.
Doing 80 to the house, then I hit him to the sky. Change haters on a tirade. Talking to the crib and the face be still. Let that hate stuff fade.
Y'all from Milan, Italy. Italy, y'all is in the chat room right now. Italy is in the chat room right now, y'all. Shout out to Italy, man. DB404, come on.
Cause you can lose life on this fast route. Yeah. Turn thoughts to a cash cow. I might flip that to the glass house. I don't need the accolades. I'm in love with the chase. I just wanna eat, save a spot at the table. Beast with the slap, hit myself on the map. You long with the wind, but we knowing that it's cap. 5-hour flight, couple nights at the flat.
Lisa Noel, good morning, sister, good morning.
I'm still on the grind, limit time when I chat. Burn it down, sage, keep the demons away. When I write it, give a piece of myself.
That's so
to the
dope.
page. I don't do it for the praise, love. That's just how I'm made.
From the glass in the mirror.
Yeah.
Do it at me, old man, trying to pass in the fear. You're the first one to talk, but the last one to hear. Eyes blurry, but I couldn't see that. And he cleared down. Start to feel like I'm on one. Settle in, I be here for the long run. I'm a slave for the cash, got snakes in the grass, no brakes on the ad, but it's all fun. Space, I'm a curve with all 12 missed calls, and I still made a curtain call. Here to light it up, lighten up. Hear him talking, they ain't right enough.
TV Will, love y'all too, man. We mean it, we mean it.
I just bang on the set list. Going past something where I came from breakfast. Your prayers, I might put you on the guest list. Young, gold in my soul, got this.
Patricia Palumbo, absolutely. Come on, Chuck. These are smooth moonwalk through the living room, brother. Moonwalk all through the chat room. You got it, bro. Sydney Butler, good morning. TH, I got you. Danielle, good morning. Yes, Danielle, please make sure you watch it. America, the motion picture, y'all. If you have not seen it, I keep talking about it. Trust me. If you want to laugh, smoke, watch it, trust me. You want it, okay? America, the movie. Motion picture, Netflix. Got it. Like it or not, coming up next, y'all.
Baby, you set my soul on fire. Every morning,
Sister Nat. Hey, good morning, Sister Nat. Go ahead and send my nephew. I got him. I know he's all over the place this morning. You know I got a dog.
can discover what we're hiding. Making you move, it sure looks good. And it goes like an
Mama and daddy, good morning. I know y'all watching somewhere. If my mama not watching it and responding to my chat, because my daddy can't see it, y'all. I know daddy is watching it. Lily Hunter, good morning.
I'm running too hot, I need to cool me down. I'm flying so high, I don't see the ground. I'm running too hot, I need to cool me down. I'm flying so high, I don't see the ground.
Nat, hey, you terrible.
Baby, you set my soul on fire. Every morning and every evening, and maybe we can't get any higher. But if you like,
Brenda Johnson, good morning, good morning.
we can discover what's hiding. Your time and
Truth the Dragon said, twerking for Jesus is happening in the kitchen. Twerking for Jesus is happening in the kitchen. If you don't go somewhere, Truth the Dragon.
you move is like a love machine.
Sweet Miss Moochie, good morning, sister. That's my real sister, y'all. Hey, sister, I love you. Shout out to the team in the building.
I'm flying so high, I don't see the ground.
This made me want to go get my old guitar,
I need to cool
a big afro, some star glasses, like on Bootsy Collar somewhere.
Baby, you set my soul on fire. Every morning and every evening. And maybe we can't get
Mara, good morning, sister Mara.
but if you like to take a ride, we can discover
Love you too, Miki.
what's hiding. Baby, you set my soul on fire.
All right, y'all, welcome back to the screen. Brother Benjamin Dixon and Brother Carl Mack, Dr. Mack, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, non-gender conforming individuals. Welcome back. James, I'm not going to lie. Two of those cuts that you played, I have been playing all night. The one that you did that just came off, Set My Soul on Fire. And the other one, I don't know the name of it. The one that sounds like a Jesus walk with the trap music in it. What's the name of that one?
Oh, yeah, Earth.
Like
Yeah.
those
Earth light it
things,
up.
man.
Yep.
Like, you're finding some really, really amazing music, man. I really appreciate it because it keeps soothing our soul. Dr. Mack, we missed you yesterday, man. We're so glad you're with us today. How are you, brother?
Hey, man, you know I'm cool in the gang. And see, that's why they call him exclusive. Not just DJ, but exclusive.
He gets it.
He gets no doubt. My mind. Well, anyway, the name James. We'll talk offline about that. But no, absolutely, the exclusives are exclusives. Listen, I have on the line joining us this morning one of the sisters who started in the game with me like years ago. Like when I had 2 followers on Twitter, she was follower number 3, something like that. That might not be that accurate, but it's something along those lines. And she has been doing amazing work over the last 6 years that I've known her. I mean, she's just doing amazing things in the activist community, getting people out to vote. She's now a journalist with News One. Anoa Changa. Many people on this channel should know you, but if they don't, they should know you now. Sister from another mister, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Listen, I want to start, and quite honestly, I read your article about the Delta variant. That's some serious stuff, and I think we really have to. I think people are starting to let their guards down a little. Tell us about your reporting there and what we really should be looking out for with this Delta variant.
Yeah, it's kind of hard when you live in a state like Georgia, being based here in Atlanta, which never really ever closed and it's kind of a mismatch of protocols and governors suing even the mayor. But just overall, part of that conversation with Dr. Marcella Nunez-Smith, who leads the White House administration's COVID equity task force, was just really bringing attention to this new Delta variant. I mean, there were multiple variants of the original COVID-19, which they call the Alpha variant, which touched down sometime last year per official records, but some indications indicate even earlier in late 2019. But one of the things that they're finding, and one of the things that Dr. Nia Smith was really stressing, is that folks shouldn't gamble on whether or not they'll get a more severe version of COVID. And just because, some people, particularly younger folks, because so much of the earlier language was, oh, this is an older person's disease, younger people aren't really susceptible. Well, unfortunately, a lot of that poor handling and misinformation earlier on has still colored people's response and response to getting vaccinated, response to just even taking precautions. I mean, I was just out picking up food for my own family recently, and just so many people are just out without masks, like living it up. And it's great because it's summer, I understand, but definitely still masking up, socially distancing, and washing hands is the thing. But one of the things that she also was saying is that this is also a more aggressive in terms of how it's transmitted, right? It's more easily transmittable from what they're seeing in the UK, where it has spread more widely. It is really impacting younger people at alarming rates, considering the fact that, again, a lot of folks are just hanging out, chilling, not really. We've had governments declare that the pandemic is open, we're reopening, everything's all good, and there is concern about a resurgence. So she was just really speaking, and more so, since News One is a Black outlet, just talking to Black folks about the importance of vaccination. And just really dealing with some of the concerns around hesitancy. We do see misinformation being targeted at Black folks. Actually, one of the Blackstock sisters, who are amazing doctors who have been at the forefront of some of this work around vaccine equity, was pointing out recently that Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s organization had been targeting Black folks at a Brooklyn event recently with claims of medical apartheid and comparing this to the Tuskegee, situation. And so what's really interesting is that descendants of the Tuskegee experiment, for those, pretty much everyone's familiar, a lot of people get it kind of wrong. It wasn't that people were given the wrong medicine. Black men who were being treated for syphilis weren't treated at all, despite believing they were being treated. And that is a real distinction that is made for a lot of folks in terms of this vaccination, because it's the same vaccine. We all get the same vaccine. Now, it depends on which one you take. The Pfizer and the Moderna are closely pretty much the same. The Johnson & Johnson variation of the vaccine is a different vaccination, but overall, everyone, regardless of race, are taking the same vaccines. And that was something that she also stressed, as well as something that was stressed in a panel I moderated recently for the National Birth Equity Collaborative, just about just encouraging people. Another thing about vaccine equity is that it's not just that, Black folks are like, oh, I'm not going to get it, we're hesitant, whatever. You have descendants of Tuskegee coming out with their own ad campaign, encouraging people to get vaccinated, and also dissuading people from trying to use what happened to their relatives in this way. But you also have people pointing about the access issues, because as we saw in places like Dallas County, Texas, and Washington Heights in New York, we saw that while there were efforts to target particular communities, we had people coming into those communities from elsewhere to get those vaccinations. So she stressed that we need to make sure that people who are targeted to get the vaccinations are actually getting it. And that language can be scary for some folks, but it really just means making sure people who need it get it. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Dr. Mack, I want you to jump in there and help us expand this conversation on.
First of all, thank you so much for looking into this issue. But let me just tell you what I'm doing, and you might need to direct me differently. So I've gotten the vaccination. I took the Pfizer shot, and I've had it for a while. Now, I've heard about the variant, and to be honest with you, I am absolutely walking around now without a mask. Am I wrong? Do I need to modify my behavior? Tell me, am I doing the right thing or wrong thing, or talk to me?
Oh, brother, I'm never going to tell you whether you're doing the right thing or wrong thing. I myself am not a medical professional. I do think that one of the things I do think, but seriously though, I really do appreciate the question from just the conversations that I've had with several different medical, like I said, talked to several different Black women, doctors and public health professionals in the past week and a half. And one of the things that folks are still saying is even vaccinated, we're all vaccinated over here too, but I'm still, when I'm in larger, I have a compromised immune system. So, it is primarily, it's considered effective against all the variants that we know of thus far. The vaccination, they do know from the earlier testing does prevent, you know, the severe illness, hospitalizations. It curbs the long haul symptoms, which is something that's still being studied in terms of like the long-term effects of COVID. So for me personally, I do still wear a mask when I'm out in larger group settings. When I'm around my friends and family, not so much. But when I'm in larger group settings, I still do. And I'm still actually hesitant just because of my personal health. I do think though, when I'm talking about just seeing people just out and around, considering that we're looking at vaccination rates of under 50%, it's a good chance that most people we're seeing without masks are not vaccinated, right? Or at least half of them. Because when we're talking about someplace like Georgia, we're only at, I believe, 40-something% have had at least one shot. So it's less than half the population is vaccinated here in Georgia, for example. And nationwide, I don't think we've even hit half the country with at least one shot. So it is, you know, a concern, but I really do think, you know, just checking out really good available information. The National Medical Association, which is the oldest Black physicians association for physicians and communities, has been putting out information. Like I said, the National Birth Collaborative has put out information. So people have good guidance. I mean, it's a precaution, but I definitely think, you know, being vaccinated is like from Dr. Vania Smith is really the best thing to do in this time. And if you're hesitant or unwilling to get vaccinated, or you don't have access, I mean, one thing that I keep stressing too is that everyone is entitled to be vaccinated. If people are asking you about payment or insurance, there is a problem, and you should, contact, someone, because it's supposed to be free and available to everyone.
Now, specifically in Georgia, is there data on what percentage of our population has been vaccinated?
In terms of the state as a whole, yes. Now, it gets really funky in terms of like racial data reporting and the accuracy of that data. And I have not seen updated like community by community. What we do know on a whole from what the conversation I was having with Dr. Vania Smith is that on a whole, you know, Black and Latino community vaccine participation rates are increasing. The concern is there's still a lag because of the earlier disparity. There was a recent study done in LA in particular, or a recent article from the LA Times that looked at the growing schism in who is vaccinated and who isn't. And it's like, you don't want to create a scenario where we have a population that still is heavily Black and Latinx that is unvaccinated and potentially exposed to a more aggressive version of this virus. But here in Georgia, we are at about, I believe when I looked a couple of days ago, I want to say it was 43% had at least one shot. Some of the issues are still reaching folks in more rural areas of the state, which not everyone has a Kroger, not everyone has a CVS in their community. So it really does take innovative solutions. And folks are starting to do pop-ups and go into communities with buses. They did that in Mississippi to help start vaccinating elderly people. So we're less than 50% here in Georgia fully vaccinated for sure. And about 43%, I believe, the last time I checked. And I can give Ben the link or whoever the link to drop it for folks so you can track even down to the county level the vaccination rates.
Wow.
Well, I will say this. I want to say this about Maryland. So even though I've said to you that I've been vaccinated, my entire family has been vaccinated, and so now I'm comfortable walking without a mask. But you know, this conversation is giving me pause regarding this variant. But I do want to say this: it is interesting that when I do go out in Maryland, I am absolutely impressed with the number of our folks, because I'm in our community who are still wearing their masks.
Yep.
Yes. And so it used to be, it was one time, you know, when this thing first started and we had this skepticism, you know, if a Black person wore a mask, you know, other folks are like, you know, giving you the side eye, like, what's wrong with you? Now, when I walk in there without a mask, they looking at me like, fool, you crazy. You better get that damn mask on. And I do want to walk in there with my vaccination card stamped in my forehead. I'm good, fam. So.
I mean, it's definitely, again, it's just more of a precaution, but like she stressed and other medical health professionals that I've talked to have stressed, like being vaccinated is definitely like the best thing that folks can do right now. And there's some indication that it's possible we won't have to have a booster 6 months after the original, like folks were thinking. So it's just paying close attention, and hopefully, you know, media outlets like News One and others will continue to cover this and help just uplift really good information from good sources. Because the disinformation we saw in the, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that I found fascinating, and I want to get your, and I haven't seen.
Well, actually, Dr. Mack, let me. I need to jump in there only for the sake of time, because we're going to come up on Like It or Not real quickly, and I've got to get Anoa. Anoa, I need you to chime in on the race in Buffalo, because you've been following that race in Buffalo pretty extensively, and you know all of the different components of who's doing what, all the different players in the background. And we're talking about the race in Buffalo, New York, between, well, actually, and it's no longer a race. And that's the whole thing. The race was already won by India Walton. She won the Democratic primary. She's a young Black woman. And the incumbent 4-term mayor, Byron Brown, in Buffalo, New York, has refused to, in a sense, I'm sorry, he's refusing to concede to me, because he's mounting a write-in campaign to defeat the woman who already Trumpism. Exactly. Anoa, tell us about, because you've been reporting on that for us. Not
you lucky I love Rebecca. You lucky I love Rebecca, because you always call me Rebecca, but it's okay. I love Rebecca. Rebecca is my darling, little sis.
You see how I try to go right past it.
You sure did.
But it's okay. Anyway, just thinking about all of this stuff. I mean, it's really important to follow more so than just simple Twitter commentary, which can be really amazing, and how I got started too. But really digging into like some of the facts of what's going on. And in this instance, we have, like you said, Ben. I mean, we had a Democratic primary. There was no Republican primary because there were no Republicans. The Republicans didn't even put up a candidate. Erie County Republicans did not put up a candidate in the Buffalo race, and Myron Brown lost. And lost by, I don't know what the final number was, but I know when I first checked, it was like between 1,500, 2,500, somewhere around there votes. It's the second largest city, even though it's rather smaller compared to New York, but it's the second largest city in New York State. And to have a Democratic mayor, to have a Democratic, member of the Democratic establishment refused. So he refused to concede. Even when the final votes came in, by the time the final vote came in, he announced that he was going to write a write-in campaign. And, folks who might remember back in 2016, when Senator Bernie Sanders lost the presidential election, there were some people talking about, like, could a write-in campaign be possible? A lot of states have what's called sore loser laws, basically, for lack of a better term, where you can't, if you lose a primary, you can't then turn around and run in a general election. But some of this confusion that's happening right now is also why some cities, like we just saw in St. Louis, have gotten away from, partisan primaries and just run nonpartisan elections. I mean, ultimately, we're talking about reform of elections. I mean, we should be having nonpartisan local elections that are happening on even years to increase turnout as well. But in this scenario, we have a sitting Democratic mayor who was refusing to acknowledge the fact that he lost. I mean, even in his press conference, he was saying things that there are people who are telling me they wish they could have voted for me. Well, had you did your job and turned out the vote, those people could have voted for you, right? So to say, because people wanted to vote for me, but they didn't for whatever the reason. And I'm not going to shame people who don't participate in primaries. Some of our folks don't even understand the importance of a primary, right? Like that's that civic engagement and real deep work that needs to be happening. Ben, you and I used to talk about years ago about off-cycle engagement, how to quote, paraphrase former state senator Nina Turner, there is no off-cycle, right? We're always on. And so unfortunately, people have gotten relaxed in that engagement. And so you have someone like India Walton who's able to build, the capacity to win in that primary. And, when you calculate, having done this work as someone who has endorsed and supported municipal candidates for a national PAC, you sit there, you work with the candidates to calculate what the win number is, the targets, who you need to talk to, and then you go beyond that, right? And so that is what was done. And the mayor did not do what he needed to do to win. So now,
she won fair and square.
She won fair and square. And when you look at the wealth that is being spent, when you look at the power and energy that is absolutely distraught at the fact that India Walton could be, if everything continues as it's supposed to, make Buffalo's next mayor, there is very money interest. There's developer money. There's so much. There's a former Republican gubernatorial candidate who has been known for racist and misogynistic commentary in public emails, et cetera, who is unofficially backing the current mayor. There's also, Republicans are also murmuring themselves running a write-in candidate because there is no bar to, the sore loser provision, or if you fail to do so in the general, in the primary, you can get another crack in the general. That is chaos, right? And this is the type of thing that Democrats nationally lambast for third-party candidates, progressive candidates for trying to do and get around the system. And it really is something that Democrats should be reining in. Now, I'm not going to say that, like I said, I think the best solution would be if cities move to nonpartisan, primaries. And then if you have a runoff, you have a runoff. We saw this happen in multiple different cities where they've shifted. I think LA is actually a city that shifted its primary, its municipal elections to an even year to increase municipal turnout in elections. So there are a lot of things but they've been able to take advantage when it's an odd year. No one's really paying attention, but all eyes are on what's happening in Buffalo right now.
But look, you put a lot there, and because this story is relatively new to me, just back me up for just a second.
Gotcha.
I'm slow this morning.
No, brother, you're not slow. It's early. It's still kind of early. You know what I'm saying? I'm on color pandemic people time. So I
thought I heard you say that in the mayoral race for Buffalo, there was no Republican candidate. So there was no Republicans that put in. So there was no Republican primary race for the position of mayor. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so because there was only a Democratic primary, that means that when she won the primary, she won the race to become mayor of Buffalo. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes. You got me. You got this.
Well, I'm just trying to make sure. And so what we're saying now is that Bobby Brown, I know what his name is, but I ain't gonna say
we're not gonna slander Bobby Brown like that. You know what I'm saying?
My apologies, Bobby. So what we let's call him Bumbling Brown. So what Bumbling Brown is doing is literally taking the exact playbook of Trump and saying, no, I did not lose the election against this sister. Is in its simplest terms, is that what we understand? So we ought to be preparing for the inauguration of this sister as mayor of Buffalo. Is it that simple, or am I oversimplifying it?
No, you are not oversimplifying. And what's really interesting is that's a very similar tactic to what we saw happening in the New York Democratic primary with Eric Adams, who is now, has been basically declared the winner in terms of throwing salt on the process, right? And New York, had ranked choice voting, and New York City had ranked choice voting in their elections. And, until the final count, even before election day itself, Eric Adams was making accusations about, disenfranchising Black voters, all this stuff. He has now won in that same exact system that he spent time, denigrating. So we do see this attack on, because one of his major challengers of the top three is a progressive Black woman. So we do see the system working in such a way, like Democrats are very interesting. This is another incident. It could come up in the congressional race with State Representative Attica Scott in Kentucky as well, right? Who's challenging a white Democratic incumbent who's actually one of the richest members of Congress. And so we see that Democrats are Black women lead, Black women are visionary, Black women are political geniuses, Black women saved America, saved democracy. But we are watching in instance by instance the way in which when Black women who are free-born, defiant, individuals in their own right step up and seize that power and claim it for themselves, what we're seeing with State Senator Nina Turner in Ohio. So we see these instances happening as, the individual things that they are. I mean, we can go all the way back to 2016 with Congresswoman Donna Edwards, who was running for Senate and got lambasted, right? Like we see this periodically happening, but it's really a systemic issue. And so what we're seeing right now, as you broke it down, brother, it really is that simple. The mayor lost the Democratic primary and now wants to be a write-in candidate.
Let me dig just one more step to this.
Keep it going.
Only for the sake of time. Get one more question in there, Dr. Mack. But this is a conversation that we're going to expand further and further every day until that brother drops out. Brother Mack.
Okay, so quickly. Right. So normally when there's a close election, there's a recount. And then after the recount, because there's such scrutiny on the recount, the decision is made that, the race is done. So number one, ask, I want to answer, has there been a recount? And then number two, has the white media declared a victor in the mayoral race of Buffalo?
Oh, yeah. I mean, India Walton was correctly identified as the winner of the Democratic primary. I mean, it was a shocking result to the media folks. I don't know whether India herself is shocked by the result. When you put in that work and you speak to people, I mean, kind of where it's going. But the media has correctly, even a week ago when the final counts, all the absentee ballots have been counted, it was firmly declared that she had won. So that's already been declared and settled. And it's been about a week since Myron Brown had announced that he was definitely going to run a writing campaign. There were reports in the media even leading up to before that where, wealthy white business owners were talking about he needs to run a campaign. So even though he's trying to distance himself from that support and saying he won't accept that support, I mean, we already know the way the political system in the United States works. People can run uncoordinated efforts and throw their money into races and attack people. And we already see her being attacked by the local media in terms of, this isn't an entry-level job. This is a sister who has been a nurse. She has been a working mother since the age of 14. She has been a nurse and managed other staff. And she has run a nonprofit and stuff. So to say that this is an entry-level job to someone who has a different type of experience is rather ignorant. It's like telling mothers that the work that they do to manage households is irrelevant at all to anything ever in life as well. So we see the way in which women are being attacked.
Pregnancy. She's entry level and she's qualified. Somebody, you got to be entry level at some point. They said the same thing about Obama. You know what? They say the same thing about black folk in general. So I'm feeling
exactly. And that's exactly why, Anoa, I appreciate all the coverage that you've been giving this issue. So and all the details and the particulars, because I was 38 hot. But I appreciate you coming in with all the facts and the figures in terms of this story in Buffalo. And we're still going to push. He's saying write down Mayor Brown is his slogan for this campaign.
Sit down.
No, stand down.
Just stand down.
Actually, it's him. It's possible other Republicans. I mean, the fact that there could be multiple different write-ins happening because people are, hot. They upset. They can't believe that this happened. And we're going to see more upsets like this in the future. So folks need to get ready.
Anoa Changa.
Anoa, thank you so much for not making me feel like the dullest tool in the shed. Thank you, sister.
Oh, no. That's not my MO at all. I appreciate y'all and the questions.
That's my dog.
Hey, love you, Anoa. Thanks so much for spending this time with us.
Thank you, Anoa.
Absolutely. Have a good day, y'all.
Take care. DJ Exclusive. Take us to a quick break. When we come back, Rebecca Azor is here with Like It or Not, and we're going to break down, or she's going to break down what's happening in Haiti. We're going to be joined by her guest, a journalist who's there in Miami covering information on the ground as it happens. DJ Exclusive, it is in your hands. We'll be back right after this.
All right, good morning again, everyone. If you have not already, patreon.com/likeItOrNot, patreon.com/likeItOrNot. Exclusive content on things, man, patron parties, man. And I'm thinking about doing a theme patron party for the next time, but we'll see. Keep you posted, all right? So let's go ahead and get our patrons read off for yesterday. We have Cherie Y. We have Isaac. New Twitch subscribers, we have Siscat, who's resubscribed and commented the pointy bras. He's the point in the corner and go like, okay. They've been subscribed for 10 months, so we appreciate you, Siscat. Mimosa Dragon gifted subscriptions to Waxing Philosophical. All right, Waxing Philosophical. And Zen Cyclist cheered 500 bits. Zen Cyclist cheered 500 bits. So we thank y'all so much, and we greatly appreciate it. Good morning, Mama. I see you in the chat down there. I spoke already, but you didn't see it. Anyway, we have a few super chats as well too. Iris Jones said, good God bless morning to all my brothers and sisters. I'm guessing that's what that was. Desiree Simmons, thank you for your super chat. Wisdom is number one. Don't forget to think. And then on Twitch, Danielle LGBTQIA, COVID is going to continue to mutate for the rest of our lives. It is going to get worse every time it mutates. Mother Nature is fed the F up with humanity destroying her. We can still be affected by COVID, even vaccinated, thanks to those anti-vaxxers. But the systems are more like common cold. Absolutely. Jam Toom said, "Love you, Bubba. I am to the painting part on that sketch today. So excited. Oh man, I can't wait to see that, Jam Toom. Make sure that you send us a picture, all right? And lastly, Kevin Griffin. It's always a must to listen to Anoa. Absolutely. Anoa, Changa, thank you so much again for joining us, y'all. Gonna play one more song and we'll get back. Here we go.
I wake up on Sunday morning, feel that ache inside my heart. I can hold on any longer. Seconds from falling apart.
Marquez, that's what it sounds like. Coming to the stage. Coming to the stage. We have Black Lightning. No? Okay, never mind.
Although you gave me your promise that you would never gonna leave, but you did, and you always will.
Justice Draconis, what's going on, brother Justice? Hope you're doing good up there, sir. That's the motion. I appreciate you. Brother Goku, Kamehameha, brother Kamehameha. Roller Dragon, good morning, good morning. Yes, Stephanie, yes it is. Aurora, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I was going through the closet and I'm like, do I want pineapples in blue or do I want to go with pink coral like salmon looking? It's kind of reflecty too, so I like it. So I'm like, yeah, let me do this. So there's that. Justice, I appreciate that. Thank you. When I hear that music, it gets me on my feet. All night. Only keep remember everything you do. I don't wanna hurt inside. Feel it in my body, feel it in my feet, and it feels so good inside. And I always wanna feel like this. It is not go. I close my eyes and all my troubles fade away. I was once I'm gonna get it, y'all. But tonight I won't let that. Tiger sent us a super chat. Thank you, sir. Tiger says, y'all know anyone hiring remote? I'm trying to get up out of this abusive job. I know some remote places don't, so you got to be in the area. But if anybody else can help our brother out, man, y'all help the brother, okay? Nisa Lapai, I appreciate you. Susan, yes, it is Pink Iris. Pink Heather, I'm sorry, Pink Heather, yes. I swear Chuck Diesel and Roadrunner be going through it on a daily basis. It'd be so funny watching it. All right, y'all. Goku said I look like a chocolate eraser. Go to hell, Goku. Hope the spirit bomb destroys you. Y'all welcome back Rebecca and Ben, y'all.
The eraser. The chocolate eraser.
Can't stand
that did it for me. That did it for me.
Out too.
That is, you are matching the exact color of the eraser.
What color is that? It's like what is it?
It's like you call my pink jacket. You called it you called it Pepto Bismol.
I said salmon for your jacket, but what's this color here? It's giving me.
It's like
mauve. A mauve, maybe?
Like pink and maroon. You can on camera it looks like pink.
Birth control pink.
Is it pink heather?
It's giving birth control pink. Yeah.
Wow, is that what birth control looks like? Okay.
Some of them do. Mine that I have, the birth control that I have now is like a tan color, but I remember when I first had birth control, it was like
range.
That pinkish color. Yeah.
This show has range, folks.
Well, thank y'all. I appreciate y'all in my birth control colored shirt. I love it.
Yeah. I love
Thank you, Rebecca. You looking good today.
It wants to be purple, but it didn't quite get there yet.
Oh man!
Also,
it wants to be burgundy.
Like a pastel. It almost wants to be pastel, but it didn't get there either. But it's almost there.
Right. If you look at it in person, it almost looks like shiny, reflective. So you got to see it in person.
Oh, gotcha.
That's good. Okay. I love it. Oh man,
y'all.
How you doing?
Rebecca looking good over there. I see you.
Rebecca, I almost got roped off by Anoa, sister Anoa Changa, because I slipped up and called her Rebecca. Because y'all both are like sisters to me, like, you know, sisters in this, you know, in this struggle. But anyway, that's why I made the mistake. And she said, "You better be glad I love Rebecca."
And I better be glad that she loves me too, because she takes no names. Okay, she definitely rips heads off, and I don't want to be in that, you know, line of fire. So I love Anoa. Shouts out to Anoa. She's family for sure.
Yeah. The world is happening.
And shouts out to Dr. Carl Mack as well. Sorry. Who was also on the show that Ben was acting like was a random guest because our virtual backstage. I'm like, he's like, "All right, Dr. Carl Mack, you have a good one." They all saying goodbye to each other. And I'm here like, what about me? Is that the friends, Dr. Carl Mack? Like, hey, how are you? I'm here. But yeah.
Well, you know, we just want to, you know, hey, shout out to Dr. Mack. Yeah.
Well, you know why I'm not here? Because Ben changed my time in the morning, so I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting. So that's about it.
You know what? Now, y'all gonna make me look like a monster out here, ain't you? Everybody.
So that's just what that is. I don't know if you knew that, Dwayne, but that's what that is. So don't be trying to say I'm coming late, because I don't be coming late. I be coming right on time.
See,
anywho,
there's a lesson there. There's a lesson there, how you responded to stuff that's in your head and not stuff that was actually said. So anyway, I digress. Rebecca, which one of us froze? Which one of us froze? I think it was me. I must be on the Daytona internet today, but I digress.
Thank you.
Well, no, I'll claim it. If it's me, then it's that infrastructure.
It's both of y'all actually, because Rebecca on her FAMU internet and being on your on the Daytona internet, brother.
I knew he was gonna do that.
I don't know what that is, because Bubba's okay.
That's that FAU. That's that Boca Raton, Florida Atlantic internet.
Yeah.
Sorry,
it's the Edward Waters College internet.
It's that PWI internet.
It's that Flomo internet. Like, what HBCU is Flomo?
You are not going to talk about Flomo.
Okay,
I don't even know that as an HBCU.
You are not going to talk about Flomo. I'm just kidding.
Look, shout out to everybody from Flomo, but
we'll talk about PWIs like that. But no, I'm joking. Because I got my degree. I got my degree from a PWI, but my blood, sweat, and tears literally went to Bethune-Cookman University. Right. But we all in it. So anyway, Rebecca, I keep trying to pivot, but it's your world. I mean, there's a lot happening, and you are you got a lot going on.
Well, I got a lot going on. My people got a lot going on, for sure. We have a guest coming on the show today, Vania Andre, which I want her to pronounce her name because I could be actually pronouncing it wrong. But Vania Andre, she's going to be on the show. She's of the Haitian Times. She works with the Haitian Times, and they've actually had on-the-ground reports from out there in Haiti yesterday and all throughout the day, even into this morning after the assassination assassination of the Haitian president, Jovenel Moïse. And I know yesterday we had so much news just falling into our lap, and a lot of things, of course, were just coming in as we were going because it had just happened. So a lot of news, again, was just out there. So a few corrections. So yesterday we did report, and right after I did make the correction, but we did report that the First Lady had passed. And I think, honestly, that was with reason, so that she can be transported out of the country into Florida to be treated medically. So that was actually, I think, strategic, I believe, that they put that out at first. But we did make the correction right after the show yesterday, as we begin to get news reports of her actually still being alive and not succumbing to her gunshot wound. She was shot multiple times. And so they actually moved her out of the country into South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, to be treated for her gunshot wounds. So, and also, on top of that, I know yesterday I was saying everybody's going to be out in the streets, but you guys, this is to my shock and to the shock of all of my Haitian friends, my family, even there, my brother, who, thank God, actually was out of Haiti right before this happened. So Haiti is actually on lockdown. There is no one in the streets, and a lot of people were shocked because usually day to day, you always see the hustle and bustle of the people on the streets, even through the pandemic. You never really saw an actual lockdown in Haiti, especially in the capital of Port-au-Prince. So a lot of reports, videos were showing the streets being vacant. No motorcycles, no machines, the sellers on the streets. There was none of that. A lot of people, many people were in their homes. So, and the country is now under siege. 15 days. They're going to be just in the house. And the airports are now closed. So there's nobody coming in and there's nobody coming out. And again, this is all a result of the assassination of the Haitian president, Jovenel Moïse. His wife is still alive and she is being treated in South Florida. So those are the updates that we have. But Vania Andre will be on the show. And again, she's from the Haitian Times. She will be on the show giving us what she knows as updates, a little bit more on what the state of siege means for the country, and who she's spoken to, and a few updates on that as well. So I'm looking forward to that because yesterday, like I said, so much news was coming around. And so like from places, like I said, the Miami Herald, we had Jacqueline Charles, who was one of the first to outline the instance of the assailants screaming out DEA, at the door. Now, it's funny because remember yesterday I was on the show, I'm like, Haitians don't really even know what DEA really is. Like, that's not something that they're going to be like, oh, DEA, let me open the door. It's not something that Haitians aren't going to do that, right? So that's why a lot of people are saying this maybe have been an inside job. But that was a conversation yesterday amongst our community as well, saying, why was it so simple for DEA to be yelled? Whether it was in English. I know that the reports that we had yesterday were saying that an American accent and a Spanish accent, or people speaking Spanish, that can be seen on video as well. But why was it so easy for them to just say it's the DEA, stand down, stand back, stand down? Why was that such an easy way for them to gain access into the White House? So, or into Jovenel Moïse's home, their private home right above Port-au-Prince. So those are questions that need answers. There's so much going on.
That's a lot.
I said. Yeah. So hopefully Vania can definitely put the pieces together from what she has, and that will be something very amazing. And to all the journalists yesterday who were being condemned, I seen that online, a lot of journalists being condemned with the news that they were reporting. Mind you, this was literally happening as we were on the show. The developments were going on the show. And I know that there were a lot of people getting online and they were saying, why did you guys run with the story and that she was dead? Mind you, this was all coming in as we were going. And it wasn't only me, it was like a few other publications, but they were saying we shouldn't go with Haitian publications. We shouldn't go with Haitian sources. And I detest that. I say that because I think that, again, it was very strategic that they wanted us to go with that story, to have her removed. As we know, the government in Haiti is very, very chaotic. And if I think they believed that she was alive, we probably wouldn't have that opportunity for her to be transported out of Haiti. Not only that, I think having the news come from Haitians, and here's the thing, every time we give the news, we say the sources that it's coming from, and we also say these are developments. And as we move forward with updates, we will definitely give you the information as it comes, especially as it relates to it being breaking news. But I, again, detest the fact that people say, do not get the information from Haitian news sources. That's why I'm happy that we reach out to the Haitian Times, because a lot of the stuff that they've been putting out, and they are a Haitian news source, Haitian Times, because a lot of things that they put out, the American media has definitely grabbed a hold to. One woman was saying that she worked for the Haitian Times, and she was out in Haiti for a few months working, but she was like, did you see any of the American news outlets covering some of this stuff? So we need to first focus on American news outlets. I said, that's wrong. That's wrong, because focusing on, American news outlets only will have some information that just isn't there for you. But when you have it coming from people on the ground, you may have a different perspective. It's just as we report it, we source where it's coming from. And that to me is the very important part. So again, I can't wait for our guest to come on around 9:45, Vania Andre on here, and she can give us definitely clarity, hopefully, on what's happening on the ground in Haiti now. So,
well,
I just had to get that out there because I saw a couple of things yesterday for people attacking a few other journalists, and I couldn't appreciate that.
I wanted to interject as you were saying it, but I want also to let you finish. Listen, in this game, flying at this altitude and at this speed, everyone is bound to get something wrong at one point. But then you also need to know the source, and people trust you as a source. So we know that you're reporting what was given to you from your trusted sources. And at this speed and at this pace, sometimes it's going to be wrong. And then sometimes you're absolutely right. Because if you ask me what I would do strategically, I would definitely have put out that news report myself that she was dead, so that she could get to the United States. So I ain't worried about them folks. Don't worry about them folks, Rebecca.
I mean, American news outlets were the ones that were putting that out anyway as well too. So it was the same thing. But my whole thing is why would you not trust news from someone who lives in the country that's there? I mean, come on. Thanks. I'm not going to trust these damn Americans to report anything about another country.
Yeah. No, and it's funny because it's I actually had sources contact me, and I chose to stand down on the information that I wanted to give because it could possibly put them in a predicament. This is the former a familiar connection to the former prime minister who broke down the whole story for me, and I was like, with the state of Haiti right now, it would be best that I don't put that information out there, and especially attach your name to it. These are very, very, very important. He's a public figure out there. And I was like, hey, we're going to stand down on that information because I don't, again, Haiti and the corrupt government and the people there who did this particular act, they're dangerous, and they have protection within the government in some way, shape, or form. So, and then there have been news that they caught a few of the assailants. So now, this is something, like I said, I can get some clarity on when Vania comes, but this is like, there's so much news going on, and it's just a lot. Like, my question would be just period. What does this mean for Haiti? Like, I talked to my brother, I talked to my family members out there. They don't even know. They're just still in shock. They're still in a place of mourning, even though many of them did not really agree, and me being one of those people, but for those in Haiti right now, my family members and friends, they did not agree with his policies, with some of the way that he just let things go, with the missing money from Petrocaribe, from, there's so many things that they didn't agree with. That's why they took to the streets to protest, right? And in my opinion, it wasn't that they wanted him dead. They wanted him just to step down. So, like I said, this narrative that can be created, which if you look at the media, the first thing that they're running with is the country was already in turmoil with the president. The people already wanted him off. They didn't like him, things like that. No, they wanted him to step down for better leadership, as I said yesterday. So the narrative is giving the people a bad rap for protesting against him, and saying that they could possibly be the reason that he is that he was assassinated. And while it's very, very sad, I always want to be careful with that news, because one person called it, it was like third world porn, like for our country. It was something. It was something
poverty,
along poverty porn. That's
poverty porn and trauma porn. Yes,
that's what it is. And they said that's what's going to be in the news, and that meaning it's all you're going to see. And a lot of people get off in the media with that. They start with that, and that's going to be the trouble that's happening in Haiti. So much turmoil. We can never get it together. And while that is true of the government right now, and it's been for a while. There is so much beauty in Haiti. And I know in this particular time, I need you to understand, when people get together and protest, that's a beautiful thing. When people get together and protest for the rights of the people, and actually have a voice for a better country, that's a good thing. Now,
Can I want to play the role of I want to ask a question, just to make sure that the audience, because you've broken this down for us several times, and you've covered this extensively for years. And you said in what you were discussing there that your parents, you, yourself, and there's others who did not want Jovenel Moïse as president.
Go ahead with the okay accent.
I've been working.
Didn't he say it right? Wait a minute.
He said it right. He said it right.
Hey, I've been working on it. Country boy try to do a little something out here on these international stages. You gotta get that Mississippi accent to work. But the point is, y'all didn't like him. And part of the reason you didn't like him was because of him. Why? Help us understand why the people of Haiti roundly rejected Jovenel. Now I'm going to mess it up, Moïse. But still doesn't mean that they wanted him killed. But why did they oppose him?
So there were many reasons why the people of Haiti opposed him. Again, there was missing money that happened with a Petrocaribe, which was like a situation there where it was like they were saying that money was missing. It was supposed to be money given to the country, and instead the money was moving amongst the government, and instead of out into the people. There was, and this wasn't the only area that they said money was missing. They said that the guns were being put into the communities by the government, instead of food being put into the communities by the government. It was guns instead. And that was to keep the people in line. Again, I say if the community is feeling impoverished and poor and things like that, this will just keep the whole idea, and this will allow them to be abused. And this is my opinion. I feel like a lot that happened, he just let happen and stand by as president. And this is what people were calling out for him to become a leader. Don't allow these things, imperialism to step in, capitalism to step in. Don't allow government influence to take over and not be about the people. There is so much when it came to immigration issues as well. People being deported there. Why are you partnering with the U.S. on bringing in deportees that are not even from here? There were so many different things that the people were asking for. And these are just a few that I'm saying. There are so many other officials that were dying. There were journalists that were dying. There were people going missing. The gang activity activity was rising, but those things weren't being addressed by the president so much so. And it's almost like he was standing by. So people were calling for a change. And again, these are just small things that I'm talking about within the community of Haiti and Haitians that they took to the street for. Now, a lot of people did like him. Right now, I'm not going to say there were many people who did wanted him to step down. They did not want him killed. A lot of people thought he was just a great person, almost like George Bush, just not for the job, a puppet. Some people thought that he was, being utilized in that way. So,
and a few people said that in the chat too. Diallo actually said that in the chat as well. Yep.
Yes, exactly.
That's good.
So it was almost in that way. And it wasn't that everybody hated him as a person. They just did not want him in that position. They needed some structure. They needed some real change, and they didn't feel like he could do it. They felt like he was just being told what to do, and that's that. And that was the issue there. Now, there were many people who did like him. If you see down your timeline as well, many people were saying like, man, rest in peace. You didn't deserve this. Many people who were opposing a lot of his, policies were saying rest in peace, because this was not what I do not believe that the people who were out there protesting for something better wanted this man to be assassinated. I do not believe that at all, but I do believe that, they wanted him to step down to get better leadership. That's what they wanted. They wanted to be heard. They wanted the option to choose a leader and have something that was less of a dictatorship and more of a democracy. Now, that's another fight that's happening online, saying that Haiti needs some kind of structure that's more dictatorship-like. And I can't agree with that, because I feel like the people do need to be free now. Well, I believe there needs to be a government system that works effectively. But we can look at our government system here today, even in America, and it's functioning like a dictatorship too. I mean, are we really free?
Right.
So, but
hello.
It's so much. It's so much.
So just as we have our guest from the Haitian Times. She is ready, but we're actually going to take a real quick break so we can set up for our guest. So DJ Exclusive, give us a quick song, and when we come back, we're going to dig into what's happening in Haiti. Rebecca Zorth, we'll be back
right after this.
All right, y'all, make sure that you should let it come soon. Stay tuned, y'all. We have Vania Andre that's going to be joining us, y'all. So make sure that you stay tuned. And if you have not already, you getting this dope-ass content. Make sure you go on patreon.com/likeItOrNot. Patreon.com/likeItOrNot, y'all. Stay tuned. Jonathan Guerrero, good morning, good morning. Kathleen, good morning to you. If y'all see me looking down, I had to switch my phone because it's about dead, so I had to plug it up to the charger. Don't bring the vibe. You definitely bring some whack lyrics. But okay, thank you for joining in and tuning in. So it's a daily thing for you. But we appreciate you, Roadrunner. Just make sure that you hit that like button, or you hit the dislike button whenever you want. We appreciate it. Like it or not. Well, you're free to like it or not. There you go. Get rid of some of these things here. Got Tigers, get the rain. Jam Tomb said, glad your immediate family is safe, Rebecca. You and yours are in our thoughts and prayers. Hopefully there is a peaceful resolution soon, and the truth is exposed as well. Thanks for the updates and your passion. As soon as it is done and I have it scanned, I will get an address to send it to you. It's for you, Bubba. Jam Tomb, love you. I appreciate you. And then TJ Cuss. Buffalo has gone through tons of struggles throughout its history, including food, deserts, water systems being polluted, industries failing in the city. Byron Brown has shown time and time again that he'll listen to private developers over his constituents that initially got him in office. And now he's mad that his constituents are responding to his neglect to the community. You're right. All right, and Susan Bradley, thank you for your super chat. And she says, Boy Magazine. And not sure what that is. Yes, Boy Magazine. I don't know. That's 30. All right, y'all. Welcome back to the screen. Rebecca Azar.
Hey guys, welcome back to Like It or Not. We have our next guest here, and I'm so excited to have her on. It is Vania Andre, and she is a first-generation Haitian American media professional with a background in marketing, public relations, and journalism. She's covered the Haitian community for 10 years as board chair and contributing journalist for the Haitian Times, one of the oldest publications in the Haitian community and leading media outlet covering the Haitian diaspora in the U.S. She is tasked with facilitating key partnerships with community leaders and groups. She also works for the nonprofit newsroom, The City, where she leads their communications and marketing efforts. Hi, Vania. How are you?
Hi. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's an honor having you on, and it's great, like I said, to have you here to be a part of the conversation. I think it's great to have Haitian media to be a part of this conversation. So let's dive right into it. I know yesterday we were just talking behind the scenes, and yesterday you were saying it was a dramatic news day for you. It was a very busy news day for you, especially with all that's been happening as a result of the assassination of the Haitian president, Jovenel Moïse. And a lot of the publications, or a lot of the write-ups that I saw you writing about yesterday were related to how the diaspora, the Haitian diaspora, is going to be affected by this. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So I got news of this yesterday, 5 a.m. on WhatsApp and Twitter. My phone was blowing up, and everyone was just in complete shock. Even though this was a president that was wildly unpopular, and there had been previous attempts at his life, I think what really shocked people in the diaspora was what this symbolized for Haiti's state of democracy and it functioning as its own sovereign nation. I mean, the last time that Haiti had a president assassinated was almost, I think, more than a century ago in 1915. So for that sends shocks throughout the community at large, simply because not simply, but I think mainly in part because after the earthquake, there was this feeling among the diaspora that Haiti would be able to come back and build back bigger and better because there was such an outpouring of support for the country in the wake of the earthquake, whether it was financial support, emotional support, people, leaving their jobs. I know a lot of my peers left cushy corporate jobs in America to go start nonprofits, businesses in Haiti to add to this recovery period that we all felt was happening. Like, I'm having goosebumps even talking about it. So for us, we really looked at Haiti at this point as where it could change its narrative. Finally, it could stop being described as one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere. Finally, it could stop being described as a country plagued with instability. And then to see now, 11 years after the earthquake, after billions of dollars were poured into the country, whether or not some of it made it to the country is a whole other conversation. But to see after all that support that this is where we've come to, it's just disheartening because even though, we're in the diaspora, we still have a very strong connection to our homeland, our parents' homeland, and we want to see the country thrive. And to see Jovenel Moïse assassinated in his home at that, it's appalling because it's not something that you see happening regularly.
No, and the assassination was big, just like you said. We really, as Haitian Americans and part of the diaspora, we really wanted for Haiti to be seen, and we're pushing for it, especially us millennials. In the last few years, in the social media presence have been pushing for Haiti to be seen in a different light instead of as the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And with this happening, it's just like almost feels like there's always something when it comes to Haiti, and that almost pulls us back. And an assassination is not just something that we hear of all the time. That's huge, a huge situation, and it's just how easily it's happened. A lot of people are talking about the what ifs and the hows. Is there any information on the assailants that you've gotten as far as them saying that they were part of the DEA? Is there any further information as it relates to the assailants?
Sure. So there were a number of rumors swirling yesterday about who the assailants were. So the most prominent one was that they were DEA agents. And this came from a video that went viral. Essentially, you see armed men approaching the president's home, and they're screaming, "DEA operation, stand down." Since then, it's pretty much been debunked, and it's thought to believe that it's mercenaries. For who, from hire, from who and where, not completely sure. We could hear on this video that they were speaking Spanish and English. Some of the rumors are that they may be mercenaries tied to Colombia, and rumors swirling around that perhaps Jovenel Moïse had been involved in some type of drug trafficking. None of this has been confirmed. Again, these are all just allegations. But the Haitian National Police did report yesterday that they killed 4 suspects and apprehended 2, and that there are a few other more men that are out large that they're looking for. Whether or not these are the men that are actually responsible is a question that I'm hearing now within the community. There's always this air of suspicion when it comes to Haiti, and especially anything that has to do with any external forces, whether it be the United States, the United Nations, Canada, France. So what I'm seeing is that even though the Haitian National Police is reporting that they've apprehended these suspects, they've killed 4 people and apprehended 2 others, I'm still seeing a lot of skepticism on whether or not these are the actual mercenaries that were responsible for this. And even if that they are, that still doesn't answer the question, well, mercenaries are a gun for hire. Who hired them? Lots of talk about perhaps this is an inside job. Lots of talk of whether or not this is something that was orchestrated from the business class in Haiti. Jovenel Moïse did not make friends in that community. He spent a lot of his administration trying to take power away from the oligarchs and redistribute wealth in Haiti, which was not popular. So that's one theory that seems to be raising more and more as the conversation and story develops, that perhaps he just made too many enemies within the business class, and this was how it all came to head.
So right now, the country is under a state of siege. Could you describe or give us a definition of what exactly a state of siege is for Haiti?
So essentially, it's a version of martial law. The Haitian National Police and armed forces, they are responsible for the security of the country writ large right now. The national borders are closed. I believe the airport is also closed. Businesses are not open. Everyone is pretty much in their homes. And it's silence. And Haiti has been going through versions of this since 2019 because of all of the protests. So just to paint a picture for listeners and viewers that may not be aware, imagine at the height of the pandemic here, where everything was locked down, there were curfews, restaurants, businesses, everything is shut down. People are working from home, going to school from home. Haiti has been dealing with this for essentially 2 years. And that's what we're seeing now all over again. But to add to that is just a level of tension and a lot of fear about what's to come next in the coming days, because there will eventually be a power struggle because the line of succession is not clear. There are technically 2 prime ministers now, both of them who believe that they have claim to be the de facto leader and interim president. Our parliament is not in session. They've been dissolved since, I think, for about 2 years now. They haven't been acting. So what we're seeing in Haiti right now is a constitutional and political crisis, and everyone is just kind of looking at themselves, at each other, like, okay, what happens now? What happens next? So I think a lot of people are just going to look to the U.S. now to see, like, what can they push forward as far as making something happen.
So it's very interesting. You said a few things, right? And I want to touch on a few things. So let's talk about the 2 prime ministers. Right. Yesterday, a lot of news was coming out that he had elected a prime minister just the day before. And this was the person that was actually taking leadership and speaking to media and giving statements yesterday. What is this thing about 2 prime ministers?
Sure. So we have Claude Joseph, which is the current but outgoing prime minister prior to Jovenel Moise's death. And then we have Ariel Henry, who was the man that Jovenel tapped last week to be prime minister. The problem that we're seeing here now is one, Jovenel, obviously, he was killed, so he was not able to formally appoint Ariel Henry, even though he made the announcement that he would be doing so by decree. And then secondly, we have our parliament is not functioning. So it's essentially, under our constitution, it's the parliament's decision, or they're the ones that have to approve, the nomination, which wasn't going to happen because, like I mentioned, Jovenel was running by decree. And then now for this current Prime Minister Joseph, for him, in order to be tapped as interim president, that also requires for the parliament to approve that, which again, is not in session. It's not working. I'm literally speechless because no one really knows what to do when we're in this gray area and there isn't a functioning government to help lead us out of this. And then just to add another layer of complication, if you would bear with me, we have 2 versions of the Constitution out. And both constitutions have differing approaches as to what the line of succession should be in the event that a president is not able to carry out his responsibilities, or he's disposed, or he's killed in this case. One constitution says it should be the president of of Haiti's Supreme Court, who passed away on June 23rd from COVID. And then the other says it should be the prime minister, and which I've just explained is not a clear-cut answer of who that is.
Wow. So this is just a broken system, as we can see. And the history of the broken system, also, a lot of people think historically, U.S. and France having their foot on the necks of Haitians, but also involving themselves in Haitian government. Do you think that actually plays a role in how broken the system is in Haiti?
I mean, that's definitely part of it. You speak to Haitian historians, experts. I mean, Haiti's history is inextricably linked to the U.S. From its inception, and the French, obviously. After Haiti gained its independence, it took almost 30 years for the national community to even acknowledge Haiti as a sovereign nation. They were not able to no one traded with them, no one acknowledged our currency. And then after we were finally acknowledged as a sovereign nation, you have these periods of years where the U.S. government is essentially influencing and placing puppet presidents in Haiti that pretty much answer to them. In 1915, you see the U.S. government invade Haiti, and they occupied Haiti, I think, for about 20 or so years. And then it's after that you see the Duvalier regime come in and a dictatorship. And so whether or not it was colonialism, we got rid of the French, but Haiti has had to deal with neocolonialism, imperialism. I won't go as far as to say that we're a failed state, but we're on our way there to be, because we're such a state that's heavily dependent on aid, whether it's from remittances from the Haitian diaspora or economic aid from the U.S., which in the past they have used as a bargaining chip in order to control the state of affairs and electoral process in Haiti. So the U.S. and Haiti will forever be intertwined, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yes, and it just sounds like a relationship that's abusive, with the U.S. Having their hand in a lot of this stuff. But it's almost like they have to keep it as a dependent state in order to keep on abusing it and utilizing the resources for close to nothing, and just, keep it where it's at, and present here in the U.S. that the country is so, as I was talking with my colleagues earlier before, that the country is so dependent, and they keep this poverty porn rolling in the media. That's what keeps all this news alive. That's what keeps it heavily just in when we speak of Haiti as the poorest country in the Western hemisphere. And you said, we are not, Haiti is not a failed state, thank God, but it can definitely be well on its way. Every time we see progression, something or someone or a government related to the U.S., if not the U.S., is usually putting their hand in something, and it becomes, we just go downwards on a downward spiral. I have another question for you as it relates to the Jovenel Moise's wife, Martine Moise, and the news of her actually passing yesterday. At first, that was circulating. And as I was telling my colleagues, I feel like that was almost strategic to have her to be able to get out of the country safely. So what are the updates on her and her process on getting care in South Florida?
So we know that she is in Florida receiving treatment. The last report that I heard, that she was at first sent to Jackson Memorial Hospital. I don't know if she's since been transferred to another facility, but she is still in critical condition, and we're all just waiting developments on her health.
Yeah, this has been a very, very, this is news that shook us all. Like, whether you liked the president of Haiti or not, this is news that definitely shook us all. And we've been hearing things from the left and the right, from the middle, from our parents on WhatsApp. We've gotten news from everywhere, but I am so happy that we got a chance to connect with you, Vania. I'm so happy that we got a chance to connect with you and the Haitian Times. I absolutely love that publication. I love the background on it. I love that you guys have footage that's been going on. I know yesterday you guys did exclusive footage of gunshots in the area. There's just like so much going on. And before you leave, what do you think those gunshots mean? Do you think that's a message being sent out, or because I was very confused. Hearing the dramatic sounds of the gunshots yesterday, just in the area of Port-au-Prince, I didn't know what to make of it. So could you explain a little bit about that to me?
Sure. I can't say for certain who was shooting and why, but the past year in Haiti, gangs have been a very strong presence in Port-au-Prince and the surrounding communities. There was even a documentary that Vice did a few weeks ago showing how much control the gangs have in the streets. Mm-hmm. And it's just been constant gunfire between different factions going against each other. There have been several reports of massacres happening in small communities in the surrounding Port-au-Prince area. So I say all that to say that, yes, the shooting yesterday may have been tied to the president's assassination, but it most likely is just another day in Haiti. I hate to say it, because the past couple of months, that's what it's been like in different communities. It's shooting broad daylight. I think about just a week and a half ago, 10 people were massacred. over the course of a day. Some of it was targeted, some of it was just passerbys, wrong place at the wrong time. So that level of gun violence in Haiti is very present, it's very real, and it's been going on for a long time.
All right. And before you get out of here, I wanted to take a look with you on what Joe Biden said. President Joe Biden said the words that he had, if we have that.
Reaction, Mr. President, to the Haitian president being assassinated.
We need a lot more information, but it's very worrisome about the state of Haiti.
Does the U.S. have a role in seeking justice? Mr. President, these attacks keep happening.
So a lot of people in the beginning of when we saw these protests happening before Joe Biden was even president, they were dependent on him. A lot of people in the streets of Haiti becoming president. Like I said, the country is very dependent on U.S. government, it seems as, and they were dependent on Joe Biden becoming president because they thought that would mean a great change that would happen also for them in Haiti. But in this instance, him just offering his condolences. A lot of people did take a shift when he did become president. A lot of Haitians took a shift because they felt like the things that he said he would do for Haiti, he didn't do. So what would you say about Joe Biden and his relationship with Haiti and the people who depended on him becoming president there?
I think, for him, he's in a delicate situation when it comes to dealing with Haiti, the Haitian American diaspora, Haiti politics, because on one side, there's always been a narrative in Haiti, U.S., stay out of our affairs. We do not want you meddling in our electoral process. We're a sovereign country. The United Nations had a presence in Haiti for more than a decade. One of the only countries that the UN had a presence in that was not in the middle of an armed conflict. So you have that one side, right, where it's like, okay, we're trying to respect that this is a country that their people have said, we don't want you involved in our politics. And then at the same time, when part of my friends, Ish hits the fan, it's like, okay, we need the U.S. to come in and push someone out. It's a tortured history. The U.S. had a hand at Aristide leaving. They had a hand at bringing him back. With Biden specifically, I think in the diaspora specifically, when he became president, a lot of the requests that he had was to, one, make sure that TPS did not expire and that it would be renewed, because Haiti was going through and is still going through such intense political, social, and economic problems that we could not have about 50,000 people leave the U.S. and go to Haiti. There's no way for the country to repatriate them. So I think that was a focus and a lot of it. I think, the Biden administration's relationship with Haiti is one that is just is constantly being reviewed and developed, because he does have a few key Haitian Americans within his cabinet, within his administration, and in his circle of advisors that I think they speak for the community and they're able to relay what the community needs. So I know today the United Nations Security Council will be having a meeting to discuss the situation in Haiti. Although Biden did say that the situation was worrisome, I believe I saw a statement where he put out saying that they will be looking to see what guidance that they can give. What that looks like, whether or not it's some type of military presence or if it's a contingent that they send to help facilitate talks. I'm not sure what that will look like. I think more is going to come in the days that follow. But he's in a delicate situation because we as a people have said two things that we want at the same time: leave us alone, but still come and help.
Yeah. And I can say for us being here as Haitian Americans and for them being in Haiti, it's like a different view that we have of Joe Biden. But, it's a little gray area for me. But Vania, thank you so much for coming on the show. Let our people know how they can find you.
Sure. I'm on Twitter. It's Vania Andre _ and visit HaitianTimes.com for more developments on what's happening with the assassination and just the Haitian community at large.
Thank you so much once again for coming on to the show. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. I definitely will be locked in and tuned in with the Haitian Times as the news develops. Thanks again.
And no, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys, we are going, we are on the 10. What time is it? 10, 12? It's a nice 10, 12. We're going to take a short break. Let's wrap it up because I know Vania gave us a lot of information. She gave us a lot of good stuff. So
Rebecca,
she could definitely unpack.
Can I just pause for a second? I know y'all hate when I do this, but I want to just say that is the best coverage I have seen on Haiti. Period.
Absolutely. Yeah, yes. I totally agree because the information that we just got from there, I have not seen anything about that period, like in years. So that's great information. And I love hearing from people in the community that know about the information versus these Americans, I just say Americans that don't know anything.
and as you all were speaking, I and say it for the people. Say diaspora. Say it again, Rebecca.
Diaspora.
Like when you said it, it reminded me of a colleague of mine. We were in our PhD program together, and I texted him because I wanted him to see. He's from Haiti. I think I told you about him, Alain, and I wanted him to see two sisters from the diaspora talking about the issues from Haiti because, if anybody's going to speak on it, it should be people from Haiti.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
People with immigrant parents, people who are close to the situation, people who were raised Haitian in America, people, who are close to the situation. And that's why I wanted to definitely reach out to Haitian journalists or people who are Haitian American who cover these issues very closely because that's why it's important to have these types of experts. We have experts, Black experts in every different arena on everything. And that's why I'm like, instead of just going to the first other face that I see, who is the Black person that I can get in the room to have this conversation? Who is the person that's closest to this issue that I can get in the room to have this conversation? And when I saw Vania and I saw her work, when the Haitian Times had sent me her email, I went and Googled her and found her work, and I see that she's very consistent in how she covers Haiti and Haitian news. So that was I hope that everybody who was watching was able to unpack because she gave a lot of great information, and even for me, so it was enlightening. It was very enlightening.
Listen, she said a couple of things that that I'm like, we're going to have to unpack as we go on for the rest of the week because it is such a rich and dense situation with a nation with such a rich and dense history. So I thank you for doing that segment. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no absolutely. Problem. And they truly have a very long way to go. 2 constitutions, not only that, but 2 prime ministers. Now
a very
oh my gosh.
System. A very big
parliament is not in session. There's literally no government. Literally no government.
But I got to flip it and reverse it. She also said that President Moise was working against the oligarchs. See, we'll unpack that tomorrow. That's a whole other episode.
It's a lot. And here's what I'm telling you here. He, even in his passing, his unfortunate passing, it's almost like, he was being used, but in the same instance, it's like he wanted to fight but couldn't fight because look at how broken the system is. That's why they were like, get this man out of here and let's get somebody else who got a little bit more strength, who got a little bit more, who can. There are a lot of Haitians that look at the times of dictatorship under Duvalier who say that under that time, it depends on what side you were under, the Tonton Macoute side or the other side. You may have under Duvalier seen it as, oh my God, this is oppression. We have no life. Or you could have been on the side where it was like, man, as long as we stay and do what he told us to do, we'll have a flourishing community. Our country will be flourishing. But it's people were living 2 sides of it. Now that there's no system, The system is literally where they're giving, instead of food to the communities, they're giving guns. And like I said, I believe that is a strategic way that they have to keep Haiti in its place, to continue to abuse it, to continue to rape it, to continue to take it for its resources and give them nothing in return. So historically, they want us to be dependent. They want us to look like we can't survive without them. That's why people in Haiti were actually rooting for Joe Biden to be president. And when he became president, and a lot of things that he said he would do, he didn't do. They were like, how you going to back Jovenel Moïse while we want him off? You said that you were going to listen to us. So those were different things too, different points that, were major and key during Joe Biden's presidency when he first got in the connection to Haiti. But that's just a little bit. Like Vania said, it's historically tied. And it's historically created for us to be dependent on U.S. and their government. While the government seems to be flourishing in more of an acting and working government here, they will abuse. They will abuse, utilize, partner with the Haitian government and make sure that it stays broken, to make sure that the country stays broken. Like she said, I got chills just discussing from the history of it and just talking about just unpacking this whole thing and remembering that there was a time that the country was going to we thought it was going to surpass and come out of a lot of the oppression and the turmoil and the pain. And it seems like every time we take 10 steps forward, we get kicked back 40. So, but at the end of the day, I'm Haitian. We are allergic to slavery. We are the first Black independent country. Yeah. We are the ones that told our oppressors they can kiss our behinds. Who were y'all oppressors? The colonizers. We told the Blanc. We told the Blanc that we will no longer. This ain't it. So I will always have that passion for my country, whether people can see the beauty in it or not. But we have a lot of work to do. And as long as I'm living and breathing, my work will not stop. My work will never stop as far as it relates to Haiti. So,
oh man,
awesome.
Put some respect, like I said years ago. Put some respect on Haiti's name.
Right. Shout out to Egberto in the chat as well too. Egberto.
See, I'm
he
still
said,
from
make sure
Mississippi.
that clip this and post separately too.
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely, David. By the time this episode is over, let's get that cut, and then I want to stream it again. Yeah, we're going to run it again on YouTube as a premiere, so that you could be in the comment section. And we're going to run it on Facebook. We're going to run it everywhere because that is so far the best coverage I've seen anywhere. And the only way it can get better, Rebecca, is for us to extend the conversation tomorrow. So I know you have other guests that you're going to be researching and bringing on. With your permission, I'm going to ask Dr. Pompoulos to come on. He has he's of the diaspora and a PhD in international.
Bring him on.
Yeah.
Bring my family on. It's going to be a family reunion.
Awesome.
We got experts in our area. Listen, this conversation needs to be broadened. This conversation needs to be unpacked. We have to have experts in all these particular areas. And unfortunately, we had to lose the president. This is a whole assassination. Okay, we eyes on us again. Okay, but this conversation can definitely be broadened. We can be it can be unpacked. It can show us different sides of the conversation, sides that we may not personally agree with, but the facts are the facts, right? And so that's what this, this is what is important. And it's for me when it comes from those who are a part of the community. I can't speak on the LGBTQIA community. I can only report what I know to be facts, but somebody who can relate to the story is Bubba. He can relate to the struggle. He can relate to the whole situation. Ben, I can't speak as a Black American 100%, although people may look at me in this country and say, oh, she's Black American, I'm Haitian American, but I was not raised Black American. So, and when I say that, I mean with no immigrant background. My background is from immigrants who weren't forced here. to this particular country. So, you know, and I
love that. I love that distinction. Yeah, we're forced to this particular country.
We were forced over
Shout
to
out to
Haiti.
the diaspora across the globe. But go ahead.
Across the globe. So, but there are things that we talk about and I can't relate to, but it's a teachable moment because while you're talking about it, I'm being, you know, I'm learning, I'm understanding. So we all can put that together in this big melting pot of Blackness and be so diverse, but learn from each other. So I absolutely, you know, I love our damn show. Okay. I love it.
Say that shit.
I love it.
I love it because when I tell you I learned so much from all y'all on this damn screen, from Dwayne, David, Ben, Rebecca, Dr. Mac, I learned so much, and it's great history lesson, especially at 42.
Dr. Hart.
Dr. Hart.
I do listen.
I ain't never learned about drugs before. I ain't never learned healthy ways to do drugs. But if I did need to learn, it's gonna be by Dr. Carl Hart. That man changed my whole entire way of thinking about drugs and drug abuse. So there's a difference.
I've only had the man on the show twice. I want to make sure I can get the man back, but I know he knows.
No, bring him back. I love him.
Please bring him back.
He let me literally tell him. So you know, when I first read the title of your article for your book, it's literally like you were telling people that you're a drug addict. But it wasn't him. It was how people were framing
the media
the conversation. And instead of saying that, he's saying, y'all should not be abusing drugs. But why is it when white people abuse drugs, they are put into rehab and saying they're going to issues? But when Black folks are abusing drugs, they're put in jail. Okay, they're put in jail for life sentences and things like that. But he's the one that gave the conversation. So shout out to Dr. Carl Hart. I know that was a crazy pivot, but y'all know I'm always bringing him up. Shout out to Dr. Carl Hart.
Always
love him.
Bubba was just trying to list all the different greatness on this stream, on this show.
But next time he comes on, Ben, you gotta tell him. Pop the goals in and give us the dreads, like you know, like you did on the Breakfast Club. They didn't deserve. They didn't deserve.
Listen, Dr. Hart. If anybody deserved the gold teeth and the dreads, it's our show. It's not that
exactly. We like church. Come as you are.
Come as you are.
As you.
You won't leave the same.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like
it or not. Well, it is 10:24. I think that we can definitely cut it right here. Bubba, you can give the people something to vibe to a little longer. Give the people what they want. But I absolutely hope that you guys got something out of today. It is Thursday. It's a little throwback. You know, I'm about to get off here, take this makeup off my face and play some throwback music. My throwback is going to be Return of the Mac. I don't know why, but that's on my mind.
Wait a minute.
Oh my gosh. When I tell you, everybody's been singing that song for Dr. Mac. When I tell you, Return of the Mac. Yes.
Oh, shoot, that is so funny. I didn't even know that.
Listen, tomorrow is Friday. We're going to bring Rebecca, you summoned them, so it's only appropriate. We're going to have Dr. Mac.
Because the way that he just left and let me do my thing, he got to come back tomorrow. So Return of the Mac. That's so funny. I didn't even know that. But since that's a good place as any to definitely have him on tomorrow. You guys, I love you. Mean it. Enjoy the rest of your day. It is Thursday. Have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow on Friday. We're going to bring definite Friday vibes. I don't know who I'm gonna wear on my shirt tomorrow. Am I feeling Biggie? Am I feeling Pac? Am I feeling Diddy? I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. Can we just make this official? Because I sure don't want to wear a blazer tomorrow, y'all. It's like
we don't do on Fridays. We chill. On Fridays we chill.
Because see, Doctor, you know, one day I want to be so professional that when I dress down, I still look as professional as Dr. Mac. So tomorrow we're gonna have return of the Mac.
Dr. Mac be having his little collar shirts on and still be fresh. Look, background don't be like Ben's, but he still gives us professional, okay? He's just naturally like that.
And then gonna say, whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm. And with his white teeth so white. Teeth so white.
He's so white. Hashtag teeth so white.
Look, the color be off on the camera, but teeth be so white. Look, I love you, Dr. Carl back. All right, y'all.
We'll see y'all tomorrow. Take care, everybody.
We'll see y'all tomorrow.
It's all that I want. It's all that I want.
Oh, I can't stand y'all. Man, great show today. I think I got one more song in here for y'all. So y'all keep it locked in. Like it or not, On the Clock with Georgia Fort, the Benjamin Dixon Show. Make sure that y'all stay tuned. Oh my gosh, that has to get played tomorrow. Thank y'all so much again for tuning in today. And if you have not already, as you see, you got a full public show today. But man, it was much needed. When I tell you that information and coverage over Haiti, absolutely amazing, y'all. So make sure that you tune in. It will be premiering again soon. You'll get the alert when it comes on, y'all.
All up in my zone. Well, let this go.
Present me with logic. Can we watch Bubba dance and groove? Sure. I got 3 more minutes, so you know, I give you what I can.
It is up to me. In this moment, just hold on. We got tonight, babe. Tomorrow is gone. You and the moonlight is all that I want.
Shout out to B. Hey, B.
We can touch the sky, babe. It's natural light. I know I'm alright when I look into your eyes. Give it to me, funky, give it to me. You don't mean nothing to me. E-boys like you every dinner. I don't believe what you preach.
Hey, y'all, Walker, thank you for your super chat, son. Great show today. We appreciate you, man.
Make you a winner. I don't believe what I see. Are you wearing gold? You're nothing more than silverware. Thinking you're so bold.
All right, y'all, on y'all way out, make sure that y'all are hitting that like button. Make sure that you are hitting that like button on your way out the door.
Everything belongs to you. Talk to me like I'm a young stupid fool.
Oh, see, now it's time to get me another laptop. B, Dollar Tree Silverware.
Why you calling me honey? Why you show off your money? Waving like it's a tissue. Baby, this is your issue. I'm not falling for bullshit. If you like me, then say it. You don't get that I see it through this facade that surrounds you. Growing up takes time, so don't you waste mine. You and me ain't right. I'm wearing gold. You're nothing more than silverware.
I'm so mad at y'all. Y'all just dropping silverware in the chat. That's how y'all feel?
Walk around like everything belongs to you. Talk to me like I'm a young stupid fool.
7 sweethearts, you better do some work.
You're nothing more than silverware. Boy, you had me from the start. By the way you said, the way you wrote it for me, yeah. Man, I felt your energy. Wasn't used to being
right, y'all, make sure that you hit that like button on your way out wherever you're streaming from. We greatly appreciate it, y'all. Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, all those wonderful places. We appreciate it, man. And definitely make sure that you are here tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. Gonna be a hell of a show. Y'all stay tuned. On the clock, like it or not, the Benjamin Dixon Show, y'all. It's going down tomorrow. We will see y'all in the morning. Deuces. Don't switch up the vibe. Holla.
Baby, keep your focus. Don't you make me change my mind. If you love me, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you. Baby, don't you. Baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you. Baby, don't you. Baby, don't you switch up the vibe.